Title: The Collision That Exposed Secrets and Lies. It was a tense evening on April 25th, a day that began like any other, but would end in chaos and confrontation, setting the stage for an unforgettable courtroom showdown in front of the formidable Judge Judy. At exactly 6:30 p.m., Melissa Terrazone, a meticulous woman who prided herself on her careful driving, was maneuvering her black 2001 Volkswagen Jetta, a vehicle she had purchased in 2008 and paid for diligently over the years. Her car, though older, was her pride and security, yet she only carried liability coverage through USAA, lacking the full coverage that could have made the upcoming disaster irrelevant. On the other side of the street, Cynthia Salazar, a spirited and somewhat impulsive woman, was behind the wheel of a 2003 Chevy Tahoe she had bought just 6 months prior for a mere $2,500 in cash. Her insurance had lapsed the day before due to paperwork issues, a seemingly minor oversight that would become the pivotal factor in the dispute. That fateful intersection, usually bustling but orderly, became a stage for a clash of egos, poor timing, and human error. As Melissa approached the traffic light, she had the green arrow in her favor, preparing to turn left, confident that she had the right of way. But Cynthia, eager to beat the light, veered aggressively into the turn, claiming she was already in the lane, while Melissa insisted that she had no chance to react. The air was thick with accusations, and as they collided, the impact was not bumper to bumper, but rather a sideswipe that sent shockwaves of tension and anger through both drivers. Witnesses immediately began to gather, among them Tamara Goss, a woman who had never met either driver before that day, but found herself drawn into the drama simply because she saw everything unfold from her small car, positioned in front of the chaos, feeling the adrenaline spike as she realized the accident was unavoidable. Melissa described in vivid detail how she had been in the left-hand lane, with a green arrow, turning calmly while Cynthia allegedly darted across, leaving her no room to brake, her heart pounding as the tires screeched and metal collided. But Cynthia countered vehemently, insisting she had been in front, that Melissa had somehow hit her, and that she had barely enough time to recover as her Tahoe bounced off the small island, causing her to swerve and nearly lose control. Judge Judy, ever piercing and unyielding, cut through the confusion with her signature blend of sharp logic and relentless questioning, demanding clear answers as the room held its collective breath. "If your mother had insurance," she said pointedly, addressing Cynthia, "we wouldn't be here today. Your insurance would have taken care of her damage." The courtroom hummed with tension as Cynthia admitted it was a lapse, a single day without coverage, and Judge Judy delivered a quiet but cutting reminder of how such carelessness could unravel lives in an instant. Both women were frantic, pointing fingers, waving hands, trying to narrate their version while the diagrams and accident sketches were analyzed. Each line on the map representing not just a lane, but a potential lie, a contested truth, a moment that would determine responsibility. Melissa, calm yet firm, described the precise positioning of her car, how she had approached the intersection, how the green arrow gave her the right of way, and how she had no time to react when Cynthia accelerated into the lane, honking and trying to force the maneuver. Cynthia, equally impassioned, argued from her perspective, detailing how she had been in the left-hand lane, how she believed Melissa had cut her off, and how the collision resulted in her bouncing onto the island, a detail she described with dramatic gesturing, emphasizing the chaos and her shock. Witness Tamara Goss, caught in the middle, nervously affirmed that she had seen Cynthia in front, not behind, complicating the narrative and forcing Judge Judy to meticulously dissect every claim, every motion, every sentence, to separate fact from fabrication. As the testimony stretched on, emotions flared. Anger, fear, defensiveness, and guilt intertwined in a tangled web that seemed impossible to unravel. Melissa recounted how she tried to calm herself after the collision, ensured that everyone was physically unharmed, and exchanged contact information responsibly, hoping to resolve what had spiraled into a financial and legal nightmare. Cynthia, still flushed with frustration, emphasized that she had only one day without insurance, that her policy was being rewritten, and that it seemed unjust to hold her fully accountable for what she perceived as an unavoidable accident. The courtroom became a theater of human vulnerability, highlighting how a single lapse in judgment, one day without coverage, one misread signal, could escalate into a confrontation that involved not just money, but reputation, pride, and the perception of fairness. Judge Judy, with her unflinching eye for accountability, ignored the distractions and tangents, pressing relentlessly for clarity, asking both women to physically show where they had been, how the cars were positioned, how the lanes were aligned, and what exactly had transpired in those critical seconds. The exchange revealed the stark contrast between the methodical, careful approach of Melissa, who had thought ahead, driven responsibly, and attempted to follow traffic laws, and the impulsive, reactive behavior of Cynthia, who had allowed a momentary lapse to dictate a dangerous maneuver. As evidence was reviewed, photographs of the vehicles, sketches of the intersection, and estimates of damage were presented, each piece reinforcing the narrative of Melissa's caution and the consequences of Cynthia's neglect. The black Jetta, though older and modestly valued, bore a visible mark of the collision, particularly where the turbo cooler was located, a vulnerable part that highlighted the serious nature of side impacts. Cynthia's Tahoe, despite its heft, had bounced on the island, symbolizing the uncontrollable consequences of split-second decisions. Finally, after hours of back and forth, after testimony that alternated between confrontation and hesitant admissions, Judge Judy rendered her verdict with the clarity and decisiveness that had made her an icon. She dismissed any counterclaims, emphasizing that drivers cannot escape responsibility by exploiting gaps in insurance coverage or technicalities, and awarded Melissa Terrazone the amount necessary to repair her vehicle, $1,247, reflecting the reasonable value of her car, while reinforcing the principle that accountability matters above all else. In that moment, the courtroom exhaled collectively, the tension broken, the lesson etched into the minds of all present. Even a single day of negligence, or a moment of impulsive decision-making, can have ripple effects far beyond what one anticipates, affecting others' lives, finances, and peace of mind. The story of this accident, retold with emotion, suspense, and human complexity, served as a vivid reminder that in life, as on the road, careful planning, attention to rules, and responsibility are not mere formalities. They are the safeguards that prevent chaos and injustice. For every listener or viewer, the takeaway is clear. One small oversight can spiral into consequences that touch more lives than you imagine, and accountability, foresight, and honesty are the only shields against the unpredictable collisions of life.